Well, it is Saturday morning, and I am in the office. It's going to be a very busy week for our law firm. Next week in Pennsylvania, I'm going to be in Monroe County a lot next week. Plan on being on trial in a fairly serious case for our client and his family. So that will take up a lot of my week. With that said, getting things ready for next week in the office, was going over some things, did come out with some blog articles this week regarding current events, the Eagles situation with their offensive lineman who was charged with rape. I put a blog out regarding a woman in Lower Merion who was stopped by police on a traffic stop and a altercation ensued. She was tased, and now it seems like she's filing a civil lawsuit. In addition, I came out with a blog article regarding illegal deed transfers in Pennsylvania and actually how a current mayoral candidate was actually charged with that a number of years ago and is still in the mayor's race, but he was definitely arrested for it. And he also has other criminal history. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with his campaign and how he explains that charge. And in that article, I explain what the charge is. And it's really hard to defend because in that situation, it looks like the charges were dropped. It was a civil matter, which the judge voided the actual transaction, but the transaction took place in 2014. The person who had owned the property died in 2003. So had the case proceeded to trial in a criminal courtroom, in my opinion, and I've done this for over a decade, that was headed toward a plea because I don't see really a defense to that at all. With that said, in addition, I did come out with a weekly e-update on Friday, which went out to over 4,000 of our current and former clients in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. We also had our podcast this week where we did not feature a criminal attorney or an attorney at all. We actually featured a news reporter from the Cape May County Herald, Mr. Shea Roddy, who spoke about the challenges he has in the media covering court cases and the process that he goes to develop a story and what goes into developing a story, how it's researched. So it's a fantastic podcast that gave some good insight on actually questions that I had about the media, how they cover news stories and how when they're not lawyers, how they really go into explaining a story and how they try to give both sides in most situations. Well, it is Saturday. It is the weekend. I understand that a lot of people are traveling. It is extremely cold out here in New Jersey. But we found that at our criminal defense law firm, a lot of our calls do go up on the weekends, especially during the winter months. People are home and not really outside much, either home or going out to eat or doing other things that unfortunately can develop into a criminal problem. Typically, we see a spike in DUIs in Pennsylvania and DWIs in New Jersey. In addition, people sometimes are out of their routines and perhaps do things that they wouldn't normally do, or forget to do things like take their gun out of their car, which they may have been in the car during the week. They may have a permit to carry in Pennsylvania, travel into New Jersey, for instance, to go to the mall, forget the guns in the car, and don't realize that the gun laws in Pennsylvania and New Jersey are very different. There is no reciprocity. I've done articles on this, I've done blogs, I've done videos. And it's a very, very serious case. If you are stopped for suspicion of DUI in Pennsylvania or DWI in New Jersey, do not refuse a chemical test. It will never help your criminal case, but do not consent to the search of your person or your property. Remember, you have constitutional rights. If the officer wants to search the car, do not get in his or her way. Don't be like the person in Lower Merion who felt like she didn't need to stop her car because she didn't feel safe. That is not a legal defense. If the officer's behind you, flashing his lights, pull to the side of the road and follow the commands of the officer. But again, do not give consent to search your person or your property. But you do not have a right to refuse to give the officer your license, your registration, your driving credentials. That woman simply is in the wrong there with regards to the way that was handled. Now, with regards to what the officer did, I'm not going to comment on that. But again, frequently people want to assert some type of argument during a traffic stop, and that is the worst thing you can possibly do. And not stopping your car is really also the worst thing you can do. It creates a possible consciousness of guilt argument. If a case goes to trial, the officer, the prosecutor is going to argue that you knew you did something wrong because you didn't stop the car or you were being evasive of the officer. That is a very, very common prosecutorial argument. In addition, if you get into an argument with the officer that escalates, you're looking at additional charges like this woman is, resisting arrest. She's not charged with aggravated assault yet. Prosecution can always amend charges, especially if the officer did suffer an injury during this altercation with the woman. So that's a felony charge. Resisting arrest charge is a misdemeanor charge. So it went from being a driving on a suspended license charge to a resisting arrest charge. And also, they found allegedly drugs in the car. Her current civil lawyer, who appears to be not defending her at the criminal case, thinks that that's not a big issue because they're prescription drugs. But if she had a prescription, she would have presented it or had the prescription bottle available. She was charged with possession and paraphernalia. So I am willing to bet that there is probably not a very strong defense for her possession of those drugs. And again, they searched the car because the situation escalated because she failed to simply give the officer her credentials, and she right away yelled for a sergeant or whatever she yelled for a supervisor. I don't know what lawyer gave her that advice. It definitely wasn't a criminal defense lawyer. It was probably a personal injury lawyer or someone who doesn't practice in the area of criminal law. And they felt like that is the way to go. Perhaps in the civil world, that's how you instruct clients. But in the criminal defense world, we definitely don't advise clients to do that. That's simply bad legal advice, and it's quite frankly legal malpractice. If you have questions, 215-755-9000 in Pennsylvania, 856-793-7429 in New Jersey, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The website, gamblinglaw.com. As always, a tremendous resource for you and your family. If you are arrested for anything, call criminal defense lawyer. Don't call personal injury lawyer. They definitely won't give you the right advice. Call someone who knows what they're doing, because bail could be an issue in your case, and you could have spending days, if not weeks, in jail unnecessarily. So once again, have a great weekend. Please enjoy it responsibly, and I'll talk to you all very soon.